are Talking Women. I'm Yvette Rowland, and today I get to talk to the wonderfully talented casting director, former actress Claire Toeman. Hello, Claire.
Hi, that was a great introduction, by the way. Thank you.
I have to say, we are friends as well.
We are.
We not?
Yeah.
I have to say, as an actress, it's lovely to speak to a casting director who has been an actor, because they absolutely understand when they're dealing with actors. But how did you, if I can take you back from casting to your acting, how did you get into that?
Oh, well, acting was my passion. So that's all I ever did when I was... My mother trained as an actress, but she never actually became a professional actress. So my parents were really passionate about the theatre. In fact, my dad, after he died, we found that he'd kept a log of every single show that he'd ever seen since the year dot. Books and books of it. So they were very passionate about it. So they were very keen. So I used to spend my summers, well, first of all, always youth theatres, right from a really young age. Right. And then when I was 14, I went to the National Youth Theatre, stayed there, I think, for like 7 years, all the way through drama school. That
has got such a brilliant reputation, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of changed a bit now. Back then, it was sort of developed by Michael Croft, who used to, who founded it, to kind of keep kids off the street.
Right.
It was something to do in the summer holidays. And now it's become this kind of like massive organisation. So back in my day, you would get great parts. Yeah. Nowadays, you have to audition for the youth theatre and then you have to audition for the parts. It's much harder. It's kind of treated as a bit of a precursor to drama school, I think.
Right.
So I did loads of really good parts at the National Youth Theatre. And then I went to the Guildhall.
Right.
Studied drama there for 3 years. And that was it. I was hooked.
Were your parents pleased? I mean,
yeah. Oh my God, my mum went to the Guildhall, so she was like over the moon. Yeah, she couldn't believe her luck. Yeah.
And so, did you ever feel pushed though, because your parents were?
No, I never felt pushed because my parents never encouraged me to work professionally.
Right.
I was desperate to go to stage school when I was about, I don't know, 11, 12, and they wouldn't let me do that. Right. So whilst they were very keen, but they were theatre people. Do you know what I mean? They were not so much film, and I suppose they did kind of like film, but theatre was their thing. But I never felt pushed into it. No.
So would you say, for those that have gone into drama school, is it still worth going to drama school?
Well, I think so, because I think I've always felt like with drama school, it gives you the opportunity to play the parts that you would never normally do. And also you've got things like voice training. I think at the end of the day, you can't teach somebody how to act. You can either act or you can't act. It's that simple.
That's true.
But at the same time, often, you know, if I say to an actor, where did you train? They look at me as if I'm mad, because hardly anybody ever asks them that, you know? Yeah. So a lot of the time actors will go and they'll do their 3 years at drama school, and also drama school isn't the same. There's a million drama schools now.
Yeah, it used to be...
you used to have your accredited ones, you know, your top drama schools.
That's it.
And those were the ones you aim for. And now there are so many, I don't know which are the good ones and which are not anymore. But I do think it's useful to go and train, because I think training allows you to fail, you know?
Yeah. So what was your first job when you came out of drama school?
It was a play. It was, because I did a couple of things while I was still at drama school, like bits and pieces, but it was a play called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was by Hanif Qureshi.
It was that good.
You know Hanif Qureshi? He's like a really famous playwright now. It was a play by him, and it was at the Spice of Life in next to the Cambridge Theatre, pub theatre. Right. It was a two-hander. Yeah.
Did you feel pressured with it being a two-hander?
No.
No, not at all.
No, I don't think so. It was just great to be working, and you know, he went on to be really famous. Never gave me another job though, although I do have him on Facebook, but yeah.
He never writes back.
Never talks to me.
So did you suffer from stage fright, nerves? Were you one of those people that felt sick before, or did you just enjoy the whole process?
I just loved being on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have been in, I have to say, some iconic productions. So I have to go on about...
I think what they are, I don't know.
Quadrophenia.
Yeah, but I was an extra.
No.
Basically at Quadrophenia, right? A whole group of us girls auditioned for the part which Leslie Ash got. Right. So those of us who auditioned, who the director sort of quite liked, we were offered special extra. So you can see me at the beginning of the film. You know, at the beginning of the film, there's a whole, they pan along all the rows of motorbikes. And there I am in a yellow jumper with a big fluffy hairstyle. And then you can see me again. And I was an extra. We were kind of like the extras who were put nearer to the main cast. But the highlight of Quadrophenia for me was sitting in the hotel foyer one night listening to Sting's demo tapes from the Police. That was like my big moment.
So with Sting, did he have a presence? Did you think he's going to become somebody?
Yeah, definitely. Because for those days, you know, he had like bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
He was really cool. He had all this leather gear. We all looked up to him. He was like our big hero. Yeah.
What was his first song? Was it Don't Stand?
No.
His first song.
It was Roxanne, I think. Or the one that kind of...
There was one where he was dressed as a school teacher because he filmed that at our school. Yeah, and everybody was like, nobody could speak. It was just like, oh my God, it's Sting. But yeah, there was definitely something about
He had
him.
a real charisma about him, definitely. I mean, he never actually spoke to me. I was just like a mere extra.
Well, do you do any of the reunions then for Quadrophenia?
No, because I was an extra. They did do a big thing on the television. I do reunions for other things that I've done.
Yeah.
Like fan club things, which is like...
Robin
really
Hood.
Robin Hood, and also a film that I did which has gained real big kind of like a really big cult following. It was a film called Shock Treatment, which was the follow-up to the Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah.
And it's just the bizarrest thing because, you know, I'm out of the business for a long time in terms of being an actor. So Shock Treatment was very much ahead of its time. It was all like set in a game show setting.
Right.
It was also written by Richard O'Brien, but it's got a massive following. So the other year they had a big Rocky Horror Shock Treatment event, and I was invited along to sit on the stage with Sunita, who was in it, and some other people. I feel like a complete fraud because I don't actually remember anything. And the funniest thing about that was I came into that film as a kind of like, not even a second choice. Basically, they cast it,
right.
And the girl who had my part, which was a girl, the character was called Brenda Drill.
Right.
She got the chicken pox, so they had to recast it really quickly. So because I had kind of like shortish, reddish hair like this girl did, I got the job. But she was about 6 foot tall, and I'm 5'2".
Yeah.
So I stepped into her shoes, but they never even reshot her scenes. So if you look really carefully, I mean, she'd only done a bit. I did most of it. But in one of the scenes, it's actually her and not me.
Oh my God, nobody's noticed.
Nobody noticed.
Don't the fans notice?
No.
I know they like to notice every...
No.
they haven't even noticed.
So when I go to these fan talks, that's like my story. Do you know what I mean?
What does that feel like when... Because they get quite obsessed, don't they?
It's just weird, and there's people like queuing up for your autograph.
So
I'm thinking, they know everything. What they do at this event was they show the film and they act out the film in front of the screen. So everybody in the audience is like saying all the lines and singing all the songs, and they act it out, which is fun, you know. But I just feel like a fraud because people come up to me and they go, "Oh, you were Brenda, amazing." Same with Robin of Sherwood. I played Meg of Wickham, who was Little John's girlfriend, and people are so thrilled to see me, and I just think it's bizarre. They pay for me to sign their autograph.
They love it. I mean, I was reading a lady that she's done a whole thing about going for one of these weekends for Robin of Sherwood.
Yeah.
And they pay the money, don't they? They all meet up and then they go for dinner, and then they can't wait to get the autographs. And she was saying, well, last time we did this, we got 8 autographs, but we're missing 6 or something, so we're going to go to the actors that we didn't. I mean, they're just obsessional.
It's very sweet. They're lovely, and they all want to be your Facebook friend, you know. So I've got them all. Yeah, why not? But
and stalkers?
No, they're all like really nice.
Right.
They're really nice. But occasionally I'll get somebody come through, like somebody came through to me the other week and he's like, "Oh, are you Claire Toeman, who was in this really obscure film that I did that nobody's ever heard of?" And it turns out that it's his favourite film. And so he ended up all the way from America sending me footage of this film that I haven't seen in years, you know. But I think it's nice. It's nice to know that somebody still takes an interest all these years later.
Stalking.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it stalking.
So I think, I mean, I never managed, you see, Claire, I have never managed to be in anything that went on and to, you know, believe me, I tried, but it didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for me. So I think it would be fantastic when you can get together and you can have these weekends and stuff like that. But is there a favourite job out of all your acting? The one thing...
Yeah, I did a series with George Cole, playing his daughter in a series that also flopped called Comrade Dad. It was set after the Russians had invaded. It was a comedy series, and it was a lovely part playing his daughter, Zoe. She was that proper London girl. Huh?
What was he like?
Lovely. He was just so nice. It was a really lovely cast, and it was meant to go to a second series, and it never did, unfortunately.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, but that was my favourite job.
And of course, because you don't suffer from nerves, what was it like to meet him for the first time?
I'd met him before, I think, because I did Minder. I did a few episodes of Minder. I can't remember, but it was nice. He was lovely. Yeah.
So with Robin of Sherwood, I have to take you back there. Now there were two different Robin Hoods because obviously Michael Praed was the first Robin Hood. Then he got taken over by Jason Connery when he left. Which one was your favourite?
Well, I was at drama school with Michael Praed. He was a year below me.
Right.
I liked both of them. They were both really nice. Obviously, I knew Michael better because we'd been through drama school and all that kind of stuff. But I just loved working on that programme. It was so much fun. And I actually met my husband, ex-husband. Ex-husband. Yeah, he was a very cute studio hand at the time. And I met him on Robin of Sherwood.
Did you know straight away?
No, well not really. It was really funny because I had a really long wig and he asked me out in the evening. When he came to the hotel to pick me up, he didn't recognise me because my hair was like short crop. I think he was a bit disappointed, but it was a really ratty, horrible old wig, so I don't know why he liked it.
Probably fallen in love with the character.
Yeah, probably.
So, did you carry your romance through the filming?
I think so. Well, no, because I met him towards the end of it. I think.
Right.
He wasn't. I don't think he was there at the beginning. No, so. Because it was kind of like an ongoing thing. I didn't do every episode. I just did episodes here and there. So I think it was towards the end of the filming for it that I met him. I can't really remember. I've blotted that out of my memory.
Yeah, it's not good. I know the feeling. I've got an ex as well, and I like to. It's best to blot them out. So who was your favourite then, Michael or Jason as Robin Hood?
I think they were both very different. Actually, I remember at the time there were discussions about that. They just both did it a different way, but I liked them both. I don't have a favourite.
Were they both? I mean, did they have egos, or were they easy to get along?
No, they were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Well, there were quite a few names on that series. So
Ray Winston, he was on it. Judy Trott played Maid Marian. Clive Mantle, who I've known for years, because you know, I was in the National Youth Theatre with him, but he's always been my favourite. Philip Rose. No, there weren't any egos on that show, actually.
So with something like that, you must have a story, bit of gossip.
I'll tell you the worst bit of gossip, okay? All right, this is a really good one. So, Michael Praed and I were at drama school together, and in my final year at drama school, I had a party. I also had a boyfriend. So I had this party at my mum's house. My parents were away. I got off with Michael Praed at my party. And we were like, I got off with Michael Praed at my party. I have told you.
You got off with Michael Praed?
No, I got off with him.
Oh, right.
We were snogging, right?
Right.
Enter my then boyfriend, who catches us snogging, right? And punches Michael Praed, okay? I can't remember if he knocked him out, but he did punch him. Anyway, years later, Michael Praed and I are sitting next to each other. A few years later, Michael Praed and I were sitting next to each other in the makeup place, you know, Robin of Sherwood, and he was having his makeup done. He turned to me and he goes, "Claire," he said, "who was that bloke who punched me at your party?"
No.
Yeah, we never had a conversation about it up until that point, and it always makes me laugh. Yeah.
Michael Praed, I love Michael Praed because he went on to Emmerdale, didn't he?
He did.
So I want to move on to another cult film, which was Billy the Kid.
Oh yes.
And the Green-Based Vampire.
Oh yes.
Now that was a film that was full of people who were starting out, but really did go places. So you've got Bruce Payne, who I know you're still in contact with now. Yeah. But he went on to America, didn't he?
He did. Backwards and forwards.
And forwards. Now there is a man on that set, one of the actors, and I know his voice, I hear his voice all the time, and it is the voice of Daddy Pig. And Daddy Pig was played by
Richard Riding.
Richard Riding must be the richest man in show business. Not that I'm bitter or anything like that. Did you feel when you met Richard that he'd go on and...
I don't know, I was really young at the time, and to be honest with you, I've never been on a job, apart from that one, where I've actually cried with boredom.
Were you really that bored?
Yeah.
So what were you doing all the time then to make you so bored?
God, it was... I mean, the people were great.
Right.
And actually, my business partner now, Tracie, she was on that job. I just remember, we were on that film for quite a long time as a kind of ensemble. So it was a musical. We had to sing. And the songs were like... I mean, a lot of people on there. Some people... in fact, funnily enough, a friend of mine, George, he's actually got a copy of it, and we watched it a few months ago.
How was that?
Oh, yeah, well, you know.
Painful.
Yeah.
It's always painful watching you.
It's never been screened anywhere,
Right.
I don't think. Yeah, a lot of my films haven't been screened. I did another film with Eddie the Kid, playing Eddie Kidd playing his girlfriend. My first film was a film called Riding High.
Right.
And I played his girlfriend. And that never got screened either, apart from... I remember going to see it with my mum in the local cinema, and there were like 2 people in the audience.
But
anyway,
just you and your mum?
Yeah, just me and my mum. But the Billy the Kid, it was just hours and hours of sitting on this balcony watching people play snooker.
Right.
And I remember I had this ridiculous hair where they would gel my hair up like in stiff peaks like every day. Right. So every day I'd get home and I'd have to kind of like crack my hair to get all this crap out of it, and it was just excruciating.
So how long did you actually work on it for?
Can't remember, probably about 6 or 8 weeks. The people were great, but the filming was just boring.
Wasn't Caroline Quinton on that?
Caroline Quinton was in that, Louise Gold, Bruce Payne, Phil Daniels. I like Phil Daniels, he's a really good actor.
Do you keep in contact with any of them?
No. I do with a few from Quadrophenia, like
right.
Gary Shale, Mark Wingert. When I say contact, I'm like, I've seen Gary Shale over the years at some of these reunion things for shock treatment.
Right.
But I wouldn't say I keep in constant contact with them. Yeah.
So you met your now business partner on that film?
No. I met my business partner at York Theatre Royal in a production of Grease. I was Morty, the kind of dumb blonde, and she was Frankie, the hairdresser.
Right.
And I met her there, and yeah, we just kind of like hit it off. We shared a house together.
And did you know, I mean at the time obviously you're both actors, was there any thought at all about, right, we're going to go into something else together?
Not at that point.
Right.
We stayed friendly for a long time.
Right.
And then we used to kind of talk about, maybe we should do something together. We had this great idea to do a bikini...
What?
To do a bikini company, but neither of us had any sewing experience.
You were going to make the bikinis?
Yeah, we were going to make bikinis. And then we decided we were going to do knitting, because we could like knit squares and we could knit jumpers. That never happened. And so I started to freelance for a casting company,
right.
as did she, and that's kind of like how our business came about.
And then you just decided we'll set up Crocodile Casting together?
Well, yeah, but we had to kind of do it a bit incognito. There's a story behind that as well. So basically what happened was, I used to freelance for a casting company, a big casting company, right. As did she, and I got more and more interested in the casting process, and people started to say to me, oh, you should go into casting. So for a joke, I applied to be casting director at the Royal Court Theatre. And I was
quite something.
It was an exercise, yeah, but it got down to me and one other. So I thought, oh, maybe I could be quite good at this. And then from that, the Max Stafford Clark, who was then the director of the Royal Court, he used to send me invites to go and see shows, which was brilliant. And from that, I got invited to go and interview for the casting department at the National. And at the time...
These are big names, Claire.
Yeah, but it was a long time ago, but I couldn't afford it. The money was so terrible, and I had a mortgage, and it never really occurred to me to take the job, I suppose, because part of my heart was still in acting, a bit, do you know what I mean? And then one day Tracie had a party, and somebody said, you two should go into business. And we thought, So we thought, well, we're actors, and at that time, actors did not become casting directors.
No.
They just didn't. There was casting was a very, very small pool of people. So we thought, how can we do this? So we thought of a name. We wanted a name that didn't include our names in case it didn't take off. Right. So we made up a fictitious person to be at the helm of our company, and her name was Amanda Lanning. Right?
Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, her name was Amanda Lanning, and she was head of Crocodile Casting. So we sort of set up in a sort of small way. And I remember we traipsed around London one day with a bin bag full of posters, and we posted them through the doors of the production companies.
Right.
Posters that we printed off all about Crocodile Casting, but halfway through my trousers split. I was wearing like leather trousers, and they split, so we had to come back, and we ended up putting the rest in the post. And so we kind of like you know, sort of set ourselves up, and not very much work came in. But then we got a very good connection through a mum at Tracie's kids' school, who happened to be the head of a big advertising agency, and that's when we started to get work. So Amanda Lanning was still like the head of our company. Right. But as the company started to take off, we killed her off. She died.
Did she have a backstory?
No, she died in a fatal skiing accident in Canada.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and we took over.
Oh, yeah. Thank God they took over.
Thank God we took over. But you see, that was in the days when actors just did not become casting directors.
So how did the other casting directors take it that you'd probably jumped up a bit?
That's another story. I won't really go into it in big detail.
Wouldn't have been easy though, would it?
No. When we got found out, there was some not very pleasant communications. I mean, obviously it's all fine now because it's years and years later and there's like 9 million casting directors, but at the time it was quite a big deal because we were like the first actors who dared to go into casting.
I know you're supposed to know your place, aren't you, in those days?
How dare you?
Yeah.
But it's very different now, you know, very different.
So do you really enjoy it?
Casting?
I mean, you must.
I do. I really love it, but the business has changed a lot since I started. You know.
Has reality TV killed a lot of, or does that not affect what you're doing?
It doesn't really affect what we do, but I just think that people don't really respect talent anymore.
Right.
And also I think, you know, people don't understand how much it takes to be an actor. And a lot of people think they can just wake up in the morning and be an actor. They think acting is a very easy option and it's bloody difficult. And the business is overrun now with millions and millions of actors.
Do you think when equity opened up, that was the final nail in the coffin in a way? Because I remember going to drama school and thinking, I knew by the age of 16 I had to get out there, I had to get as many contracts. I think it was 50 weeks, wasn't it? Didn't you have to work 50 weeks?
Yeah, you had to work for your provisional equity.
Yeah, and that was out of drama school. And I remember thinking, well, once I'd left drama school, what am I going to do? Every time a contract ended, I had to find another job and another job. And then nowadays, like you say, people think, well, I just fancy a bit of acting if they can do it.
Exactly.
And the thing is, then you put the camera on them and then they completely freeze up, because actually doing it in your back bedroom to actually going out and people looking at you doing it are two completely different things. And I find where it became, well, I'm northern, so there was a lot of work for northerners at the time, but I am finding that the business is a little bit more upmarket now. I think we're looking at people who are a little bit, I don't know, how could I put it?
Put it this way, if you're somebody's son or daughter,
well, the nepotism is amazing, isn't it?
But it's also the same within crews. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you want to work as a runner on a film set, if you've got a famous mummy or daddy, you know, oh yeah, it's all about who you know, and there's just so little regard for talent, I think, you know. And that's because there's so many people trying to do it.
But then you do look for new faces, don't you, Claire? I mean, you're not going
we do, but it used to come from the point of view that you could assume that if somebody was an actor that they could actually act. Right. And that actually isn't the case anymore. There's a lot of people who call themselves actors who actually can't act.
Right. So
I know that sounds a bit harsh, but it's true.
It's harsh.
Yeah.
So how do you get your pool of people? Every time you get a briefing, do you use the same agents or? We
use all agents.
Right.
But unfortunately now, there are so many agents and some of them aren't that reputable. It's getting harder and harder to do that. Right. We used to because obviously most of our work is in commercials, we used to like to have a sort of big open door, you know, to be able to find new faces, and we still do that. But put it this way, I put a job out the other week for a very small fee, right? It was basically a walk-on job. I had over 3,000 people applying for it.
I was going to say, do you get deluged?
Absolutely deluged. So you can't really continue like that anymore. So it means you've got to cut people and agencies out of it. And also the fees are so difficult. Some are good, some are bad.
Right.
Some agents will deal with those fees and buyouts, others won't touch them. It's become very much kind of like you have to take each job exactly as it, you know, each job has to be treated separately. And also in terms of, you know, for us now, it used to be that we would just get called and say, could you cast this? Now, all the production companies have to pitch They pitch these jobs out to so many different production companies.
Right.
We only win the job if our production company wins the job. So obviously we've got to do budgets in line with our production company.
Right.
And a lot of the time the production company don't win it. So we're always pitching for work as well.
So then that makes you not really in charge so much so then, does it?
You're never in charge. No, I don't think we ever were in charge. Obviously we're in charge of the casting, but you know, we're reliant on our production companies actually getting the job. If they don't get it, we don't get it, you know.
So what's the most desperate thing an actor has done to get your attention?
Desperate thing to get my attention? I don't know.
Do you find that when people...
I've never been invited on the casting couch, if that's what you mean.
No,
I wish I had, but nobody's ever asked me.
But I'm just wondering, sometimes actors are a bit desperate. I'm just wondering, if an actor finds out that you're a casting agent, does their attitude change towards you?
Well, they're always like really nice, but then again, you know, I'm not a features casting director. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a sort of a royalty of casting, if you want to call it that, and I'm very much like on the actor's side. But they're always really nice. We get invited to see things and everything, but I've never actually had anybody sort of really ingratiate themselves
with you.
They're just nice, you know, they're polite, they ask the right questions and that kind of stuff.
So what's the biggest job that you've had to cast for?
I've just done, I don't know about big, but I've just done a really nice film where we had to find a blind actor.
Oh my goodness.
And
how'd you go about that?
Well, I was quite lucky. He was a young boy, really smart guy, in his first year at Oxford University.
Right.
And I found him through a friend of mine who used to run Chicken Shed Theatre.
Right.
And initially he was too old, you know, because this is for a company, they're from overseas. They wanted a guy kind of like 14 or 15. He was actually 19. But we found quite a few young blind kids. But he was, you know, he'd had a lot of experience with Chicken Shed and everything.
Right.
So we managed to talk the director into using him, and he was a real big success with them.
Really?
Yeah, and that was a really nice thing to do. You know.
How does that feel when you've cast well and you see that the job has gone really? I mean, it must be hugely satisfying.
Yeah, it is, especially when they take your recommendation, because a lot of the time we don't get asked.
Right.
You know, so when we do get asked, or when you know you're putting somebody up for a job, especially if it's like somebody who was your first thought, that person, and that's what they go for, then that's really nice. I like getting actors work. I
must say, when I'm watching films, sometimes I see the same cast move on to a different film, especially the low budget films as well. It's the same cast. How difficult, I know you don't do films, it's more advertising and commercials, but how difficult is it for you if you're trying to suggest somebody who's new and they are absolutely hell-bent on the same people?
It doesn't really occur in commercials though, no, because they, you know, if they want somebody well known, they'll ask for them.
Right.
Know, and if they've got the money, they'll pay for it. So commercials, they're always happy to see new people.
Right.
A lot of the people in commercials, they don't, you know, they're not actor people, they're advertising people. So a lot of the time, they don't really know much about actors. And some do, the directors, but the clients. And when you're casting a commercial, you're casting a product.
Right.
You know, I always say to actors, the advertisers don't really care anything about you. They don't care if you've been 3 years at RADA or whatever. They're looking for a face to sell the product, and that's what they're interested in. Yeah.
So, because you do understand actors, and you were saying before, you find them sometimes a little bit disrespectful if they don't know actors very so well, you know. So if you're dealing with a company, like you say, you're a product, we're trying to sell these fish fingers, we're not really interested in you as a person, can they be a bit dismissive of actors?
Oh yeah.
Because they're viewing them as a product.
Because a lot of the time they'll go, oh, they haven't got much talent. It's not so bad now, because casting was always in studio, you know. Now everything is online, so you don't have people sitting there making comments, but you know, that I'd say that's a bit of a thing of the past, to be honest with you.
And how does that work? Because everybody now, especially with COVID happening, everybody, instead of traipsing the West End, everybody's just doing it on their phone.
So, I hate it.
So how does that affect you finding the right person?
It's really difficult. You know, again, we cover all of this in our workshop, but as an actor, if you're being asked to make a self-tape, not only have you got to be the director, the wardrobe person, the lighting cameraman, you've got to have your equipment, you need your ring lights and all this kind of stuff, plus you know, you need a clear background because there's nothing worse than somebody filming with all lots of rubbish hanging up behind them.
Does that happen?
Yeah.
Right.
Even now, all these months later, actors still haven't really taught themselves how to do some. I'm not, you know, a lot of them do it really well.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of like gauging it, because often you'll find an actor shoots a brilliant self-tape and they might add all sorts of things. They might add music and this, that and the other, and the client hates it because it's gone too far.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I always say to actors, just do what is requested of you. Don't, you know, otherwise otherwise you'll spend all day doing this amazing self-tape, possibly for nothing, you know.
Right.
It's actually much harder, I think, to self-tape for a commercial than it is for a film, because with a film it's generally just, you've got some dialogue, you can read with somebody, it can be a straight sort of read. With a commercial, we might be asking for a little reaction or something, or an eating shot. People look really ugly when they're eating. If I'm in a studio with an actor, I can make them look nice.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you know?
you can give advice, because I've obviously been to a casting for you, and you're just giving advice because you know exactly what the client wants. But if they're just sending in a tape, they're left to their own devices, and then, so what do you do then? So they send you the tape, and then what happens?
So we would request a tape. So we would put the job out. We get a job, we put it out as a casting brief through our casting services. We then, it's more work for us. It's way more work for us doing self-tapes. We then choose the people we would like to tape. Usually, you know, as before, we would have invited them to studio.
Yeah.
It's getting back a little bit to studio, but not much. They send in their self-tapes.
Right.
Sometimes they haven't edited their self-tapes, so we have to edit them.
Oh my
goodness. It's a total pain.
Right.
We look at all the self-tapes, and then we choose the best ones to send to the client. It's way more work, and a lot of it, you know, for the last 16 months, I felt like a kind of like a data inputter.
Right, yes.
There's no human contact.
No, and if you're editing as well, I hadn't really thought about
sometimes.
that.
But another way we do it sometimes is live over Zoom.
Right.
But you're limited over Zoom because obviously you can't zoom in and out.
No.
Or we have a studio run it. I can't.
You can't get the feel of the person.
You can't, and actors need to be directed. You know, it's like I've got friends who spend all day trying to make a self-tape because they don't really know what's required of them.
Is it more stressful now? Because that is another skill, of course, they haven't taught you at drama school. You're not, because, well, nobody was doing it.
There's a lot of workshops online you can do, but it is more stressful because often now what's happening is, and there's a big rumpus going on about it at the moment, is everybody wants everything now. So it's like, oh, could you just get him online and could you just do a self-tape like now, like instant? And it shouldn't be like that. You know, actors are not there
performing.
They shouldn't be asked at the drop of a hat to do something. It's not fair.
And often, if an actor's already out working or doing something else or somewhere else or in the middle of a part with their child, and it's like, can you get back now? Can you do self-tape?
Or can you do it from where you are in the park with all the traffic noise behind? I've had actors try and do self-tapes or Zoom castings in their car.
Oh,
and I'm like, you know, you need to go home. You can't be in your car for this.
Or driving.
There needs to be some sort of... what do you call it? Like, you know, there needs to be some sort of standard set because they shouldn't be able to pick up people and drop them just like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. So what advice, because we talked about a lot of nepotism, if you don't have that family around you with the family name, the Fox name, or if you don't have the contacts, where do you start? What are you going to do? Are you going to be able to get into the business like that?
It's luck.
Is it?
And you have to have the hide of a flipping elephant. Really, you really do, you know. Anything can turn around for anyone at, you know, any time, can't it? But I suppose having a good agent is a must. But then what works agent-wise for one person doesn't necessarily work for somebody else, you know.
And then how do you get an agent if you haven't got the experience?
Yeah, if you haven't got any stuff, then you've got to get into short films. It's even hard to get on a student film these days.
Yeah, it is. So
I wouldn't advise anyone to become an actor, to be honest now.
So that is the advice. Just
don't do it.
Just don't. Having said that, one of my favourite films, one of my daughter's favourite films, Nanny McPhee. Your daughter Holly is in there, and she played as Christiana,
like the littlest girl with the bob.
girl.
Yeah, but she was 6 years old when she did that.
That was the first one. That was my favourite. Never make a second when the first one is so great.
I never watched the second one.
Oh, well, this is not a patch on it. Well, Holly obviously stole the show, you know.
Really?
But how did she get that job?
So I work with a lot of kids agencies. There was a child agent who had happened to meet Holly, and she asked if she could put her up for it. I said, why not? And, you know, she was an exceptionally kind of bright, spunky 6-year-old. I think she had something like 7 or 8 auditions for it, because obviously they had to match all the children.
All the kids.
And it's really hard, you know, you imagine that's your first job, where you've got your own caravan, you know,
Oh my
everything
goodness.
is laid on for the kids. It was wonderful, you know.
I said to her, I said, did you suffer from nerves? Which is what I asked you. And you
Yeah.
said no. And Holly said, oh no.
No,
she said,
she
I just
didn't.
loved it.
She did, but how many kids get that opportunity at that age?
You don't. I mean, that is a dream job,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it really
Oh, my
was, but
goodness.
it's quite hard to follow that. And now that she's, you know, she's sort of going back into the business a bit, it's difficult, you know, because she did it when she was 6 years old. She went on to do some other stuff as well. She went to the National Theatre, but it was all when she was much younger.
Yeah,
you know.
I know. And the thing is, you change your look, therefore people have to place
But
you.
also finding a really exceptional child at that age is difficult. It's always a chore, you know. And she was fantastic at that age. Now there's a million brilliant young actresses at 23 years old, but not so many when you're 6. You know?
Yeah, but you know, you don't know, she could make a comeback as you made a comeback in the movie Mob Handed.
Oh gosh.
Playing a very naughty, sexy politician. What was it like kissing Rob Reed? Did he get his Olympic belt out for you?
Do you know, I don't remember. He might have done. He was a very nice guy. Yeah.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
I think. And
yeah.
It did actually go up for an award, so you did make a comeback. So
I did, yes.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
briefly, as we all did, very briefly. So I think what we're saying, Claire, when we're saying is there any advice and you want to go into the acting profession, is probably think about it.
Think about it.
It's a bit tough out there. It's always been tough, but it's...
I think if you've got something else to fall back on, you know?
Yeah, because if you're creative, it's easy for us to say don't bother, but you want to express yourself, don't you? But
There's a lot of people go into the business late as well. You'd be surprised how many people come in, they've been... I mean, I've got a friend of mine who was a very successful lawyer, but he'd always wanted to be an actor, you know, so he saved up and then he became an actor.
so you just don't know, do you?
You just don't know. I mean, some actors make it pretty late in life. I'd say never, but just be aware of how tough it is.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And well, there's always Love Island, isn't there?
Oh my God.
I think we'll end it there. Thanks ever so much.
That's
Claire.
okay, thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it.
Me too, thank you.
So, see you again next time, and if you've got any comments that you want to make, please feel free, but I will put some links underneath so you can have a little bit of a shifty into what we've been talking about. Thanks very much, see you soon.